You are listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern vitality. If you are seeking to reconnect with your innate vibrancy, you're in the right place. I'm Emily Davis, a seasoned holistic esthetician and herbalist. Join me as we unlock the secrets of ancient skincare practices, explore the beauty of seasonal and nature-based living, herbalism, and true holistic well-being for you and the broader ecosystem. I'm back with another episode designed to help you build your best skin ever. This is episode 21. And today I thought I would talk about a topic that I get asked about literally every day. And that is, why am I still worried about breakouts at a time in my life when I'm also getting wrinkles? And it's such a frustrating thing because we are of the assumption that breakouts should only happen when we're a teenager and then never again after that. But the thing is, it's actually so common for people, especially women, to experience acne at several different times in their life. And today I'm going to talk about what's actually happening in the skin when we get acne and when we get wrinkles. And then I want to talk about the biggest things that you want to consider when you're experiencing both of these at the same time. And so I'm going to talk about your barrier. I'm going to talk about skincare. And then, of course, I want to talk about things like hormones, gut health, liver health, lifestyle, which is going to look like stress management, sleep, all of the things, the food that we eat. And because as I was putting the show notes for this together, I just kept going and going. This is a very complex topic as we are talking about two pretty big conditions, what's the word? I guess just complex conditions in the skin. And so I'm going to turn this into a 2-part episode because I really want you, if this is you and this is what you're experiencing, or I know I have a ton of estheticians who listen, and this is obviously something that you are going to see in your treatment rooms. I really want to give the proper reverence to both sides of the coin here. So we're going to break it into 2 episodes. The first episode is coming out obviously as you're listening, or it's already come out. And then the next one is going to come out the following week. Before we get into it, I wanted to read a new review that we got on Apple Podcast. And this is from username _gratitude_glow, titled So Helpful. It says, I am a somewhat new holistic esthetician, and having this podcast to listen to is such a great resource. The way Emily breaks down everything makes the information so much easier to comprehend and digest. Not only is this podcast informative, so is her Instagram. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with your fellow Esties and not Esties. It is so appreciated. Thank you so much for that. I have a folder on my phone of all of the messages that you guys have sent me through DMs on Instagram or through email or as a review, just of all of the kind things that you have said about the podcast. I honestly just followed this ping that I felt that I got from the universe, and I'm so grateful that I did. I am loving doing the show. I'm so happy that people are enjoying listening to it and finding help from it. As the Esties who are listening, I wish that I had something like this when I was first starting out, and I hope that it helps you. I hope that it makes you feel really supported. And I know that it's hard because you're in your treatment room alone, and it's definitely, we're talking to people all day, but we don't always have somebody to talk about the issues that we're dealing with. And so I hope that this helps you. And for the people who are here because they want to learn about their skin, I also wish I had this when I was dealing with eczema for the first time and I had no idea about the skin barrier, or even when I was dealing with perioral dermatitis, which I have a whole episode coming up soon about that. I really want to make sure that you feel supported and feel in your power with your skin. With that being said, I do want to remind you with this episode and all episodes, nothing I have to say is medical advice. Nothing I have to say is personalized skincare advice. This is for educational and informational purposes only. I am going to talk about herbs in the second part of this episode. And I just think it's really important that we always understand that just because something is a plant does not mean that it's benign. Herbs have contraindications. Not every plant is a good match for every body. And that doesn't mean it's a bad plant or a dangerous plant. It just means it's not the right fit for you. And so it's really important that you do due diligence when you are getting ready to consume any new supplement or herb or pharmaceutical or whatever it is, that you do a lot of research and make sure that it's aligned with your body. So, with that being said, let's dive in. Acne is caused by a combination of three physiological factors. Like, this is what's actually happening inside the pore. So, let's hop into our magic school bus and let's take a ride down into the hair follicle, also known as the pore. And each of these three physiological factors that we're going to take a look at is, of course, influenced by outside factors. And that's what I'll get into later. But let's just look at what's happening on a skin level. So the first one is excess oil. And it can especially be unbalanced oil that's thick and sticky and it's not flowing well. This oil can clog the pore. It's important to know that there is oily acne and then there's also dry acne. And as we age, our oil production does slow down, and we still can have excess oil just hanging out in the pore. Even if we are drier, sometimes our oil is just not flowing properly. And this does make me think about this amazing toner that's from Live Botanicals. I carry it in my shop if you're interested, but it's a ginger and spearmint clarifying tonic. And I just think this is so brilliant. The person who does their formulations is, I just like, hats off to you if you're listening. This ginger is so beautiful because it's going to get flow happening within the skin. It's going to break up some of that stagnancy within the skin. And then that spearmint is going to cool inflammation. And so I think they're just such a perfect pair for this specific situation where we have oil not flowing through the follicle properly. So number 2 on our list of 3 is clogged pores, and clogged pores specifically with skin cells. So our pores, aka hair follicles, same thing, are little tubes in our skin that are lined with the outer layer of skin that sheds off. So on the surface of our skin, we have skin cells that are just constantly flying off and turning into dust in your house. And inside of the pore, we've still got that surface layer happening. And so it's going to slough off. And generally, these skin cells are going to travel up and out, but not always. Sometimes they can get stuck in the pore for various reasons, and they begin to clog the pore, and then they mix with the oil. And that brings us to number 3 on our list, which is that we get a overgrowth of bacteria. And the specific bacteria that we often see with acne is called C. acne bacteria. It used to be called P. acne bacteria for those estheticians who are listening. It has now been renamed to C. acne bacteria. And this one just loves to munch on the dead skin cells and the oil that are stuck in that hair follicle. And so now we've got a party happening. This is going to trigger inflammation and the formation of acne. So we know that there's dry acne and oily acne. With dry acne, flaky skin can block the pore, whether we have excess skin cell turnover or not enough skin cell turnover. So, again, as we age, those skin cells are going to slow down, just like our sebum production. And even when they're slow, they're now hanging out and just like hanging on. And so they're not going to be moving up and out of the follicle as easily. And so they can get stuck in the pore as well. And I like to always make note of the fact that there's dry acne and oily acne, especially for consumers, because so many acne products are, even professional acne products, are targeted towards people with oily skin. And really, oily skin is actually much more rare than dry skin. And so, if you have dry skin acne and you're buying this professional grade, even acne product, oftentimes it's not going to be the right fit for you and it can worsen conditions within your skin. So, dry skin may have an imbalance of bacteria because it's dry and because the barrier is compromised. And so, this is where that C. acne can still thrive in the clogged pore despite less oil. And then we have another form of acne. Well, I guess it's not completely separate than what we've been talking about, but this deserves its own little nod, which is cystic and nodular acne. So I'm sure if you've had cystic or nodular acne, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These are much deeper in the skin, much more inflamed. We have a stronger immune response happening. It's more severe. We've got swelling, we've got redness, we've got pain, and these are still going to be caused by clogged pores, oil, and bacteria. However, we also have much more inflammation here, and this can damage surrounding tissue, and it can actually cause the follicle wall to rupture deep within the skin, which can make a whole host of other problems. So, all of that to say, definitely avoid picking or prodding at any acne, but especially cystic or nodular acne. It is so not worth it. Instead, we want to really support the immune response within the skin. One of my favorite let's talk about two of my favorite topical products or ingredients for all acne, but especially for immune response. So echinacea. Echinacea we think of as like a cold and flu remedy, but it was actually first used by First Nations people in this country as a skin infection treatment. So thinking like snake bite and things like that. But if you think about it, we're really just helping to support the immune system within our skin. So echinacea is so beautiful for that. And the second is Calendula. I love her. She is just such a supportive ally for so many different issues, but big time for the skin. So if you can get an organic Calendula hydrosol, this is so beautiful for acne. Laurel makes one that I love. Aromatics International makes a really beautiful one as well. But calendula is a lymphatic movement tonic. And so lymph is really important when it comes to both aging and acne, or wrinkles and acne. Because when we have stagnant lymph under the skin, it's going to hold toxins like metabolic waste and environmental toxins under the skin, which is going to cause inflammation. Stagnant lymph can also increase oil production. And when we get this moving, especially for cysts and nodules, it can just be such a game changer. Also, calendula is incredibly healing for the skin. It increases ground substance, which is like the stuff under our skin that makes it juicy and plump. So this is wonderful for aging as well. And rewinding back to lymph really quickly, stagnant lymph can be highly drying to the skin, and it can also make the skin look more dull and can contribute to excess wrinkling as well. And so utilizing calendula and its amazing lymphatic movement properties can also be so supportive to wrinkling. So that's a quick overview of acne. And let's talk about wrinkles. We have dynamic wrinkles, which are caused by facial expressions, and dynamic wrinkles can be supported with facial massage, and I love face taping for this as well. Dynamic wrinkles are when we make the same facial expression over and over and over again. So maybe you furrow your brow often, or maybe you smile often, or maybe you drink out of a straw every single day. And the muscle is going to start to shorten over time. And then when we're massaging, we are working to physically lengthen that muscle again, which is really cool. And that's also what we're doing with face taping as well, in addition to lifting and creating space within the skin. And so I want to do a whole masterclass on wrinkles on the podcast here. But for the sake of this conversation, I want to talk about a second type of wrinkle, which is called a static wrinkle. And static wrinkles are generally caused by a degradation of elasticity and collagen in the skin. And the barrier has a lot to do with this. A weakened barrier diminishes our skin's resilience against oxidative stress and environmental stressors, excess sun exposure with UV radiation, pollutants. These can all accelerate collagen breakdown and wrinkle formation. There are some things that we can do to naturally support our collagen production. One is to eat vitamin C rich foods. Vitamin C is a cofactor for collagen production, so we always need to have that present if we're going to make more collagen. We can eat collagen rich foods like bone broth and gelatin. And I actually am a supporter of collagen powders as long as they're from a good company. I really like the brand Perfect Supplements. I will say Vital Proteins, I've had many clients say that they experience breakouts from that particular brand. So I don't know. That's not like a formal clinical study. It's just anecdotal evidence that I have heard from multiple people. So check into that if that's you. Other things that you can do are red light exposure. I love a red light LED mask. Omnilux is my favorite company. I also like Bon Charge. You can do things like microneedling to support collagen production. You can do facial massage, especially face cupping can promote collagen production. So there's lots of ways to naturally produce this. But we definitely want to always support our barrier first because it's our first line of defense. Speaking of the barrier, let's talk about how a disrupted barrier can affect someone having wrinkles and acne at the same time. First of all, it's really cool to think that we are 90% microbes and only 10% on average human cells. And I just think that's so wild. I think about this all the time, and it's just It's insane. Like, we are mostly other little tiny creatures more than we are ourself. And they are us. They make up us. And this is by design, right? We want to take care of them because they're taking care of us. And I'm sure you've heard about the gut microbiome. It's quite popular now. But just as important to our overall well being is the skin microbiome, which is part of our skin barrier. It's part of that 3-part barrier. We have a ton of research happening right now about this. And in the coming years, I strongly foresee it just exploding. And I foresee us finding out that, because it's already starting to be found out, that our skin's microbiome is actually a huge factor on the overall health of our body. And I foresee people starting to understand that we can't continue just obliterating our skin's microbiome all the time. And I would say, don't think of the microbiome as this battle between good and evil, but more like cultivating a diverse neighborhood or cultivating a diverse community. The more diversity we have, the better. A diverse skin microbiome is going to help healthy skin by preventing an overgrowth of that C. acne bacteria that we talked about. An imbalance or dysbiosis in our microbiome can put the natural oil off balance. It can make it either really thick and sticky and slow moving. It can make our oil production less. Dysbiosis can promote chronic low-grade inflammation in our skin, which is linked to accelerated aging because it's going to break down collagen and elasticity. It can also be linked, like I said earlier, to acne. Interestingly, some bacteria in our microbiome actually produce antioxidants. And I think that's really interesting. And so these antioxidants are going to protect us from environmental damage like pollution if you live in a city, or excess sun exposure. The microbiome is just so fascinating. And so we want to make sure that we have the diversity and the inclusion of those specific bacteria that are making those antioxidants so that our skin is resilient. Balancing our microbiome supports a healthy barrier that keeps the skin naturally moisturized and holds water in. And when we're not moisturized, wrinkles again are going to become more prominent. So, this is why I do so much less to my skin than I ever have in my life. And so many of my clients are so surprised when I tell them, do less. We need to cut out a lot of the skincare that you're using. We need to maybe only wash in the evening, not wash in the morning. And their skin gets better because we are told by the conventional skincare industry that we have to do a whole circus in the morning and then another whole circus at night. And that's what good people do. And that's how you have good skin. And that's just not true. It's instead keeping us a slave to this conveyor belt of skincare consumerism, to do more, need more, because then the more you're doing, the more you're dermaplaning, the more you're putting on retin-A, the more you're applying a thick, creamy cream and a foaming cleanser twice a day. All of these things are breaking down your skin's microbiome, and now it needs more maintenance than it ever did before. Now you need to buy more products to fix the problems that that is causing. Okay. And also, I say all of this because I also want to note that beautiful and intentionally crafted skincare can really support the skin. We've been applying oils to our body since the dawn of time. They are a beautiful ally to our skin. They condition our skin and help to protect it. And as an herbalist, I'm well aware that topical application of medicinal plants can be just as important of a medicine as taking a tea or a tincture can be. So, this is why I'm such a big fan of beautiful, small batch, herbalist crafted skincare. And this is the only type of skincare that I carry in my practice. And you may be asking how and what skincare could be making my concerns worse. And this needs to be its own podcast. It needs to be its own course, its own book. But I'll give a high level explanation and then just keep following along with me, and you'll continue to hear me talk about it, I'm sure, over and over again. Okay, so a lot of mass produced skincare products, like the ones sold in discount department stores like Target and regular department stores like Neiman Marcus, regardless of the price, are not actually caring for your skin. And it's really easy to think that because something is really expensive is it's good. But my goal here is to make you understand how to read an ingredient deck in the way that you are now empowered to hopefully read a nutrition label. You can't just rely on other people telling you, even if it's me, you can't rely on other people telling you what's good or bad. The goal here is to understand that less is more when it comes to skin. I would rather you cleanse with honey than with Cetaphil if you are experiencing a barrier disruption. Oil cleansers are also a beautiful option. There are many oil-based milk cleansers. There are a ton of small herbalist formulated skincare lines that work with local herb farmers. And if we could all buy less just to have 2 or 3 high quality products supporting small businesses instead of these insane conglomerates that are owned by Colgate Palmolive and Nestle and Unilever and L'Oreal, that would be amazing. That's the goal, right? The lowest hanging fruit is to take a look at the products that you're using. And I wish that there were a blanket list of ingredients that I could say, avoid these if you have acne. But the truth is that everyone's skin is different and it's reactive to different things. One person may be great with jojoba oil, and for someone else, it may trigger clogged pores. Incorporating skincare that cares for your skin is really important. And that's just so much to cover in one episode. It's something I will be talking about for years to come because it is so nuanced. But if you do want to take a deeper dive, I did a whole series about how to shop for skincare, starting with getting to know your barrier better, which is episode 3 through 9. So definitely go check out those episodes so that you feel really confident when you are shopping for skincare. But let's take a meta view here at these ingredients. It's important for the microbiome to avoid really creamy creams that are filled with harsh synthetic emulsifiers. Emulsifiers are ingredients that bind water to oil to keep them together in the bottle. If we don't have an emulsifier, we would just have the water and the oil separate from each other. And this is great. And there are many, or a few, I should say, biodegradable emulsifiers. Lecithin comes to mind. But the problem is with these really harsh synthetic emulsifiers is that if they are too strong, they can actually bind to the oil on your skin. And as you wash your face, you get what is called a washout effect. And this means that you are washing away your good oil that you need on that barrier to do all of the things like hold moisture in. And the oil on the barrier is actually essential for the microbiome to thrive. So these oils are very important. And that's basically what a Cetaphil cleanser is, and their moisturizer, CeraVe, Micellar water is just water and emulsifiers. And so this is why I avoid those specific ones. And when I'm working on clients who do use them, their skin is often rough texture, highly dehydrated. And so if you're using those and you're seeing skin issues, it may just be something to look at. I'm obviously never judging anyone for the skincare that they're using. If you're using them, you love them, and they work great, then great, you do you. But that's why I tend to avoid those when we're dealing with issues like acne and dehydration with the skin. So, with acne, many lines will also use harsh surfactants. Surfactants are a type of ingredient that are like a detergent. This is what sulfates are. You'll see like sulfate-free shampoo all of the time. Sodium lauryl sulfate is a very common harsh surfactant. They break down oil on the skin, but if it's too harsh, like many synthetic surfactants, it will break up your barrier. It'll just totally strip your skin. But luckily, there are some really cool plant surfactants, which is very interesting to me that there are plants that have a soap-like quality. Yucca, soapwort, soap bark are three that are top of mind for me right now. And these are gentle, but still help to cleanse the skin. For a cream that's not going to create a washout effect, I do carry and love Blissoma's Pure Moisturizer. I have a very hard time finding really great creams. Someday I will create one that's appropriate for Colorado climate here. But right now, that's my absolute favorite. And then for a gentle cleanser, I love Blissoma's Free Cleanser. It's like a gel that's also an oil. It's very interesting. And I carry both of these because I do believe in them so much. And they are two of the best sellers among my clients. They're both essential oil free. Sometimes too many essential oils can be harsh when a barrier is disrupted, as it generally is with acne. Not always. I'm not always a hater on essential oils. I think that they have wonderful healing benefits, but I do enjoy that these two products are essential oil free. I mentioned oil cleansing before because it's something I'm a big fan of, as long as you make sure you remove all of the oil from the skin with a warm, damp cloth or organic cotton rounds afterwards. Oil cleansers are so beautiful because oil attracts oil, and so an oil cleanser will pick up stale or stagnant oils on the skin, like that thick, sticky oil that may be trapped in the follicle. An oil cleanser can help to break that up. And that's why you want oil cleansing to be a 2 to 5 minute activity. 5 minutes is a long time to be washing your face, but you could turn it into a facial massage situation. So with oil cleanser, you apply the oil dry to your skin with dry hands, and you'll start to massage. Take 2 minutes to do just the massage, and that's going to be breaking down the compaction in the follicle. And then after that, you will get some water in your hands and you will start to massage your face. I really love a specific oil called tamanu oil because it has an interesting ability to suds up a little bit with water. And so it'll get kind of milky with tamanu oil. And I really like that. And tamanu oil is also really cool because it helps with skin cell regeneration. So it's going to help regulate how often those skin cells are sloughing off of the skin so that you're not getting too much or too little. It's kind of like a Goldilocks effect. Another oil cleanser that does not have tamanu oil, but I really love, is the Live Botanicals oil cleanser. And that one has lemon balm in it, which I really enjoy for its antibacterial properties. And that oil cleanser is an infusion of lemon balm. So not an essential oil, but they've actually put the lemon balm in the oil and let it infuse. And it has this amazing lemon balm scent, which I think is just a testament to the quality of their ingredients that you can smell it in the oil. It's important to exfoliate without completely destroying your barrier. We don't want to go in. I do not like dermaplaning because it just completely shaves off the entire microbiome and barrier. And our microbiome is resilient. It can rebuild itself. So if you've dermaplaned, don't worry, me too. It will rebuild itself. But if we're just doing it all the time, it's not super helpful. I really love enzymes because they dissolve only the very surface without getting too overzealous. Enzymes are like pumpkin, pineapple, cranberry, many fruit enzymes. Honey has enzymes, yogurt has enzymes. And a good rule of thumb with acne is like once to twice a week for a gentle enzyme mask. I do love the Live Botanicals Oasis enzyme mask. That's a fermented cranberry, and I have had wonderful results with that one with my clients. I even love Greek yogurt as a mask. It's one of my absolute favorites. It has a ton of enzymes and probiotics, and I really like to mix in a bit of matcha powder for the antioxidant support. So this and honey are my two favorite kitchen DIY masks, which I have an episode about DIY skincare coming this summer, kind of like the good, the bad, and how to do it well of DIY skincare, because I think that it's something that can be done. You just need to know what you're doing and have some intention behind it and understand the ingredients really well and how they interact with the skin. Honey is always one of my favorites, especially for clogged pores. Honey has this really unique ability to pull gunk out of the follicle. It like sucks it out basically. And you can use raw honey. Also, the brand Activist has a Manuka honey mask that I'm currently testing out on myself to see if I want to bring it in for retail in my shop. Manuka honey is especially antibacterial, more so than other types of honey. So a honey mask once a week is a great rule of thumb. I love to do honey tapping, which is where you're basically just doing piano fingers tapping on the skin. This tapping movement will actually help to further pull gunk, for lack of a better term, out of the follicle, that compaction in there. But it also is going to help open and close lymphatic valves. And we talked about how important it is to have lymphatic drainage all the time when you are experiencing acne and wrinkles as well. I definitely recommend vitamin A if you are concerned with breakouts and wrinkles at the same time. Vitamin A is going to help regulate the skin cell turnover, and it's also a very powerful antioxidant. I am partial to whole plant vitamin A, which can be found in beta carotene. Beta carotene, like in carrots, converts to retinol in the skin through special receptors. And Blissoma has a serum called Smooth A Plus Correcting Serum that I really enjoy, and it smells so good. And I am very intrigued by Marie Veronique's microbiome safe retinol. They have developed an overnight cream or serum. I can't remember what it is, but I think that that's definitely worth checking out. I have not tried it myself yet, but it is very intriguing to me. Hydrosols are always a favorite of mine. I think they are so soothing, but also so powerful at the same time. They're like undercover powerful. And I spoke before about a calendula hydrosol, but I love any aromatic mint like rosemary, thyme, sage, lavender, even though Lavender's not in the mint family, but these aromatic molecules of these plants have antibacterial properties and can reduce the C. acne bacteria without wreaking havoc on the microbiome. I did mention the Live Botanicals ginger and spearmint clarifying tonic that I really love. I also love a chamomile hydrosol for soothing the skin. I think that that would be really lovely. Laurel makes a chamomile hydrosol that I love. I also really enjoy resins from pine or frankincense. A resin is kind of like a scab for a tree. It produces it to cover and protect a wound and to be antibacterial and also healing. Resins are going to do that exact same thing on the skin. So you may find a pine or a frankincense, either hydrosol or a product that has one of those in that. And I really love those as well. I love Laurel's spot treatment for breakouts. I do carry that one in my shop. It has tamanu oil, which I talked about before. That's the one that helps with the skin cell turnover. It has lavender and thyme, which I said have antibacterial properties, chamomile with its soothing properties, and then it also has a plant called helichrysum, which is a flower and very potent for reducing and preventing dark spots from scarring. Laurel does what they call microdosing their essential oils. And so we're seeing a very small amount. And I have not seen it be irritating to the skin. I've seen it be very helpful thus far. Clays are another great option for acne. Generally, if we are experiencing acne later in life at the same time that we're experiencing wrinkles, our skin is potentially more dry than oily. And so, using like white clay is a wonderful ingredient that's not too strong. Some clays can be very, very pulling or drying, like bentonite clay. But white, also known as kaolin clay, is a really lovely option. And I never like to let clays dry on the skin. So don't allow it to sit there until it cracks. You can let it sit there until it just cools and solidifies a little bit on the skin. You can also mix it with things like honey, and then it's not going to dry. So clays are beautiful. They have a really lovely drawing mechanism. So they're going to help pull stuff out of the pores, but they are also mineralizing to the skin. Another ingredient that's high in mineral content is seaweed. And I love seaweed for acne. It's one of my absolute favorite ingredients. It's incredibly wound healing, which acne is a wound, and it also is going to be super hydrating and cooling to the skin. So think of the environment that a seaweed comes from. It's cold and wet, right? So that's going to be translated to the skin. I carry a product from Blissoma called Peace, and this has both clay and the seaweed in it. They also have a mask called Refine, which has clay and seaweed, and I really love both of those for acne as well. Finally, face steaming is so important for breakouts. The steam helps to break up the stagnation in the pore or in the follicle. And I love to add fresh or dried herbs, but if you have fresh thyme or sage or rosemary, any of those aromatic mints, again, lavender would be great. If you have any of those on hand, with boiling water from the kettle and put your face above it with a towel over your head to trap the steam. Don't get too close. And I would say, I don't know, stay 8 to 10 inches away. And you can do this for like 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20. And this will be just a really lovely time to quiet down because, as we will talk about in the second part, stress is a big factor in acne as well. So turning this into a little ritual for yourself, I would recommend doing it maybe once a week is appropriate. So that is kind of a breakdown of my suggestions for products and ingredients for breakout prone skin. Just know that changing your skincare can have a really big impact on your skin, but often with acne, it's not the only factor that needs to be tinkered with. So, with that being said, I am going to close out this episode. And then next time, we are going to get into the other factors that are going to contribute to acne and wrinkles at the same time, like hormonal factors, liver, gut health, lifestyle, stress, all the things. So, I hope that this episode was helpful. And I will see you next week as we get into part 2 of breakouts and wrinkles. You've been listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality. If you liked what you heard today, consider giving me a 5-star rating. It helps other people just like you find the show. You can shop products and find all of my offerings on my website, stratumaesthetics.com, and follow me on my social channels at Stratum Aesthetics.